People often ask me when I knew my marriage had changed. The truth is, it didn't change overnight. It happened so slowly that I almost didn't notice. My name is Emily. I'm 36 years old, and I live in North Carolina. When I married Jason 12 years ago, I believed we were building a partnership. We promised to support each other through every season of life. At first, we really did. When his father became sick, I helped with doctor's appointments. When his mother struggled after losing her husband, I spent weekends cooking meals, cleaning her house, and making sure she never felt alone. Jason thanked me often. "You have the biggest heart," he used to say. Hearing those words made every sacrifice feel worthwhile. Then, we had 2 children. Life became busier, but I kept giving. I worked remotely during the day, picked up the kids from school, helped with homework, prepared dinner, and drove across town every evening to check on Jason's mother. Weekends weren't for resting anymore. They were for grocery shopping for his mother, cleaning her home, taking her to church, and attending every family gathering. No one asked if I was tired. Everyone simply expected me to be there. If I ever mentioned needing a quiet weekend, someone would smile and say, "You're so good at taking care of everyone." Somehow, that became my job description. Jason's sisters rarely helped. His brother lived only 20 minutes away, but he always seemed too busy. Still, every responsibility somehow landed on me. Whenever I quietly questioned it, Jason would kiss my forehead and say, "You're just better at these things." For years, I accepted that answer. Until one Tuesday afternoon, I had just finished an important work meeting when my daughter called from school. "Mom, can you pick me up? I don't feel well." Of course, I left immediately. On the way home, Jason called. "Mom needs you to drive her to a specialist tomorrow." "I already have meetings all morning," I explained. "Can one of your sisters help?" There was silence. Then he sighed. "They have their own lives." I looked at my daughter sleeping in the back seat. So do I. Jason sounded annoyed. "You always make everything difficult." That sentence stayed with me all evening. Difficult? I was raising our children, working full-time, managing our home, taking care of his mother, planning birthdays, remembering everyone's appointments, buying gifts, paying bills. Yet somehow, I was the difficult one. That night, I opened my planner. Every page was filled with responsibilities. Almost all of them belonged to someone else. I couldn't remember the last time I had scheduled something simply because it mattered to me. The next morning, I made a decision that felt surprisingly scary. I called Jason's mother. "I won't be able to drive you today," I said gently. "I've arranged a transportation service, and Jason has all the information." She paused. "I thought you always handled these things." "I usually do, but I can't anymore." She sounded disappointed. "I understand." The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes. The world didn't end. But when Jason came home that evening, his face was cold. My mother waited almost 30 minutes. The driver arrived. I answered calmly. She got to her appointment. "That's not the point." "What is the point?" "You embarrassed me." I stared at him. "Because I didn't cancel my work? You know my family depends on you." Those words hit harder than shouting ever could. Depends on me, not appreciates, not loves. Depends, like I was a service instead of a wife. For the first time, I asked a question I'd been afraid to ask. "What do you think your responsibilities are in this family?" Jason looked genuinely confused. "I work." "So do I. I provide. I contribute half our income." He opened his mouth but didn't answer. Instead, he said something I'll never forget. "You've changed." Maybe I had. Or maybe I had finally stopped disappearing. That weekend, I didn't go to his mother's house. I took my children to the park. We laughed. We had ice cream. For the first time in years, Saturday belonged to us. When we returned home, Jason was waiting in the kitchen. He placed a thick folder on the table. "If you're not willing to be part of this family anymore," he said quietly, "maybe we need to talk about what happens next." I opened the folder. The first page made my heart stop. Inside the folder were printed pages from a family law website. There were notes written in Jason's handwriting, lists about separation, property, custody, support. I looked up at him. "You've already been planning this?" He crossed his arms. "I've been preparing, just in case. Just in case I stop doing everything for everyone. You've become selfish." I expected to cry. Instead, I felt strangely calm. For years, I had believed my value came from how much I could carry. Now I realize something different. People who truly love you don't measure your worth by your usefulness. That night, after the children were asleep, I called an attorney, not because I wanted a divorce, because I needed to understand my rights. For the first time in years, I asked questions about my own future instead of everyone else's. Over the next few weeks, I stopped apologizing for having boundaries. I kept working. I cared for my children. I visited Jason's mother once a week instead of every day. I politely declined responsibilities that belonged to other adults. Something surprising happened. Jason's sisters suddenly found time to help. His brother started driving their mother to appointments. The responsibilities hadn't been impossible. They had simply been easier when I carried them alone. Jason wasn't happy. He accused me of changing. I agreed. "I am changing," I told him. "I'm learning that love isn't the same as unlimited access to my time." Our conversations became quieter, more honest. For the first time, we talked about our marriage instead of everyone else's needs. My attorney encouraged mediation before making permanent decisions. Jason reluctantly agreed. During one session, the mediator asked a simple question. "Emily, what do you need?" I almost laughed. No one had asked me that in years. I answered slowly. "I need respect. I need partnership. And I need to stop feeling guilty for taking care of myself." The room became very quiet. Jason looked at me differently. Maybe for the first time in years, he realized I wasn't asking for luxury. I was asking for balance. It didn't magically fix our marriage. Trust doesn't rebuild in a single conversation. Respect doesn't return overnight. But something important changed. The expectations changed. The invisible job description disappeared. Jason started scheduling his mother's appointments himself. His siblings shared responsibilities. Our children saw both parents participating at home. And I stopped believing that saying no made me a bad wife. Months later, my mother-in-law surprised me. She invited me for coffee. "I owe you an apology," she said softly. I looked at her in surprise. "I got used to letting you do everything." I should have encouraged my own children to help. I smiled. We all got used to it. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You deserve your own life too." Those words healed something inside me. Today, my marriage looks different. Not perfect, just healthier. I still help. I still care deeply. But I no longer confuse sacrifice with love. Boundaries didn't destroy my family. They showed us how to become one. The biggest lesson I learned wasn't about marriage. It was about myself. When you spend years making yourself smaller so everyone else feels comfortable, eventually you forget your own voice. Finding it again doesn't make you selfish. It makes you whole. And sometimes the calmest comeback isn't proving anyone wrong. It's finally giving yourself the same kindness you've spent years giving everyone else. If this story touched you, please comment and subscribe. I have one question for you. Have you ever felt guilty for setting a healthy boundary? Let me know your answer below.